Rightio, guys, here we are. Sorry for the delayed start. It is just one of those things that happen. And here we are live and true coming to you from, firstly, Tasmania and Australia, from where I come to you. And my name's Geoff Pine. I'm a senior trader with Actions to Wealth. And it is that organisation that brings you this trading market update each and every Sunday. As always, we'll be trotting around the globe to get some ideas for what's coming up in the week ahead in the markets, and to do first up the macro version or the big picture stuff. It's very, very good evening in New Zealand to Julian. Hello, Julian. How you doing?
Hey, Geoff. How are you, mate? I am doing very well. Thank you very much. And
yeah, it's a funny thing, both you and I, when I say I'm on top of the world, it's kind of not true, is it? Unless you stand on your head. So what does antipodes mean? There you go. Question without notice.
And there it is. Thank you very much. Well, that's important. So look, I am a tourist to these parts, as you well know. I've only been around 10 years or so. So you can't start throwing crossword puzzles at me straight away. So go crossword puzzle question. So why don't we? That's my cue to politically say, why don't we talk about the macro environment?
Okay, I'll shut up.
No, that's all right. Don't worry. Look, this is a good discussion. I will in the interim, we will try and find out what Antipodes stands for. I think it's got something to do with either Latin or animals or people or when it was first discovered, or any of the above,
or anything else.
So, yes, yeah.
Somebody will be googling it madly. Don't worry.
Yeah, and if you've watched Total Recall, it's the other end of the big tube that goes right through the middle of the earth. To the London.
That's right. HQ. Maybe that's what it means.
That must be what it means. So look, hi everybody, and welcome to the show. Look, this is going to be a reasonably quick one for me because I've been a little tied up this week doing other things. But what I want to do is I want to share with you a couple of my thoughts about things that are happening out there in the world that maybe are unusual for this time of year. So I haven't met many traders who said August was the best month they've ever had, right? It doesn't tend to happen that way for two reasons. The Northern Hemisphere is on holiday. And secondly, we get crazy volatility that pushes things in different directions, right? So do you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had that big sell-off in gold on a Monday morning out of Asia? Well, here we are 2 or 3 weeks later now, and gold has now wiped out all of that and has gone back to a new recent high. Now, we talked about this last week. We talked, and Ainslie conveniently is popping into the show, and she will have more to say on this later. My big picture view of this, and when we talked about this the other day on the show, I was saying there could be something going on here, which could be the end of the bear run. Okay, gold has been struggling now for the best part of 2 to 3, well, not 6, 9, 12, no, 9 months, 12 months. I don't know when it got to 2000. Sometime, ages ago, guys. You can all look at the chart. You don't need me to tell you when that was, right?
Well,
but here we are.
20.
Thank you, Ainslie.
Sorry, just to be accurate.
We could do this section together if you like, and then that short circuit your piece as well. So, so when I was there, I talked last time about maybe this being the beginning of a move in precious metals that was going to last a little bit of time, right? So, at the end of the day, the price that you get involved in isn't actually that important because we're maybe looking at, our target in our head is new highs and beyond. Now, why do we feel that way? Well, because the cycles are still supporting us. There's still 60-year, 90-year cycles are supporting us. I'm not going to show you any charts. It's not my gig. Ainslie will do those things. Just going to remind everybody that underlying this are some secular forces which maybe are going to push gold a little higher. So is this the time when precious metals start to rally? Well, the answer to that question is always from a technical perspective. We go look at the charts, we use our risk management tools, we do all the stop loss stuff, and Ainslie will talk about that. What I'm looking at is the big picture. And for me right now, I feel that the time's up for gold going down. So right now, my sense is that gold is going to do something special. Now, why do I say that? Well, because normally in August, you tend to have where things have been going up, you tend to have them going down, right? So, for instance, something like coal or gas or gold or other things, right? Crazy things happen because people, when they want to move positions around, don't have the liquidity they normally get when it isn't the holiday season, right? So here we go. right? So what's happened to some of those things? Well, coal, for instance, let's look at the price of coal. That was traded at $160 about 3 weeks ago. Then it fell to 130 in 3 days, right? That's not an insignificant move, more sort of digital currency like in terms of its percentage moves, right? Now it's back to 150 again. Okay, so this is interesting. So why is this interesting? It's because we're still seeing the trends continue, right? Natural gas broke out to a new high this week. Oil is starting to recover again. Is there something going on here? And the answer to that is it appears to be the case. Now, you'd have thought that this would be a rough time for oil and natural gas, things, these raw commodities. The world's still sort of struggling with lockdowns and struggling with post-COVID environments, whatever it is, right? And we know that China's struggling with its economy on one hand and with COVID restrictions on another that's causing shipments and factory layoffs. And anyway, you get the picture, right? So the answer then is when we look at the charts, they should be going down. Well, have they? And the answer to that is no, right? No, they're not, right? You look at natural gas, new high this week. You look at oil, it got down to $61, I believe, last week, about 10 days ago. And now here it is. It's bounced back $7 or $8. That's like a 10% move in a week. Here we go, right? Why is it doing this? Well, this is the major question. Why is it doing it? And the answer really is, I think, because they're not done with their big moves. Maybe there's more coming. If you look at copper this week, it began to start to break up. So all of these things are starting to move again. Now, this might be crazy August and there might be some strange things happening, but they normally tend to happen contrary to the previous trend. So when you see the markets breaking to new highs, that's when you start to pay attention because things are going to be interesting then, right? It's not that it's been going up, now it's collapsed, and that's August for you. And then come September, we'll find a way to rally. No. In August, what we've seen is markets starting to break to new highs. The S&P put a new high in place this week, okay, on holiday time. None of this makes any sense unless you believe that things are going to continue. So maybe because Powell didn't come out and change the world at Jackson Hole last week, he talked about thinking about tapering. I guess you could argue whether you think tapering makes a difference or not, I don't know, but let's assume it does, right? He talked about thinking about tapering. And that's interesting. But as we all know, it doesn't matter until he sees the unemployment. When the unemployment of the minorities comes down, then he will move quickly to restore things back to whatever you might consider to be normal for interest rates, and also the amount of bonds and mortgage-backed securities that the Fed buys. So what's the message from today? The message from today is, oh, that's interesting. Strange things are starting to happen. It's happening in gold. Not so much silver, but it's happening in gold. Oh, hang on a second. Haven't the cryptos all been rallying the last few weeks as well too, right? There's another thing, right? Okay, they started to bounce again too. Well, isn't this interesting? So here's the theory, right? And this is where I'm going with this stuff, right? If this is happening now when it should be happening in September, I wonder what September's going to do. Maybe this is the beginning of a major move and we're just going to keep going. Okay, then I will start to find I'm going to start to find my words on a bit of paper and start to chew on it, because I did say that I thought inflation was going to be transitory. If it turns out to be more secular, I'll be the first person to take my notebook and basically eat it all up. So here's the thing. Let's see how the next couple of months unfold. But for the time being, from a trading perspective, we've seen, for instance, as Ainsley will talk about, gold break up again. This, for me, is a very interesting buy signal. Who knows where to get involved? Ainsley has a better clue on that than I do. But I think what's really important is that maybe the down move is over there. And if it's over in gold, what does that mean for the rest of the precious metals and the industrial complex? So let's keep an eye on this and see where it goes. I am still a bull on commodities, and I'm remaining a bull on commodities. Perhaps the correction is over. Geoff, that's it for me.
Mate, love the query you had on the end of that, whatever you consider the new normal to be, or whatever you consider to be normal in terms of interest rates. And that leads me into the ponderance that wonder what the hell the new normal looks like. Will there be a normal anytime soon?
Look, for me, I think it's really clear, right? If it's in America, we're going to have negative real interest rates for the next 10 years. Okay, that's the new normal, right? That's the Fed. That's the way the world's going to work. If you want to pay off this debt, the best way to pay off this debt is growth and negative rates. Okay, so if inflation's 4 and rates are 2, you're losing 2% a year. You've got to find something else to do with your money, right? That's going to be the pattern. I think people have got very used to seeing a positive return on their money against inflation for the last 30 or 40 years. Maybe they have to get used to the 1970s again. And I think that's where it's coming from. So leaving the money in the bank isn't a very good idea. We've got to get out there and spend it. Go and buy natural gas, gold, and maybe even coal. So we'll look at the, this is why I think, just having spoken to McCree for an hour, in fact, NFTs, in fact, is also the way to go. Digital art seems to me to be the new art, the new gold. So maybe we need to look at that as well too. Look, I'm buzzing. Yeah, I have had for a long time a neutral attitude towards interest rates. I never believed that the sell-off we saw in January and February was going to last very long. Right now, I'm beginning to see if this inflation does not settle down in the next couple of months, and the Fed continues its drive towards social justice as a means of making policy, which is something the Federal Reserve should not be involved in. That's not their core job, right? That's what politicians' job is. It's not their job, right? Their job is to disappoint. Then we are going to see a backlash, and that backlash will start to be a steepening of the yield curve, and then that will be a problem. The banks will do okay, but nobody else will.
Wow, there's a whole heap of subjects we could talk about. You could talk about all night, things like housing prices and what that interest rate situation actually means to the bubbles that we're seeing. Well, bubbles in housing prices, they're just ridiculous where you live. They're ridiculous where I live. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but I think they're pretty much in the same boat. The new normal. It's a very, very interesting topic. We must challenge it one day, but we have to put aside a few hours, I would imagine. Mate, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you next week.
Cool. Cheers, guys.